everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I've been kind of going through a rough patch, dealing with some depression and kind of isolating a lot recently. So whenever I get comments that these videos help people, it really helps me to remember that this work's really important. Not that I could ever forget that this work is important, but sometimes it's a little bit of a weight, but it is important and needs to be done. And thank you guys for all of your continued support. I really appreciate you. If anybody's interested in supporting me financially or supporting the podcast, my Patreon links are in the description. Merch is in the description. None of that's expected. It's always appreciated, more than you know. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
My name's Andy. I went to the Academy at Ivyridge between like March 2002 September 2002 and March 2004.
Okay. And walk us through a little bit of how your childhood was and what led up to being sent away.
Yeah, so my childhood, I grew up in a broken home. My parents got divorced when I was like 3. Father wasn't really in the picture a lot. He was an alcoholic. So my mom was a workaholic. My mom comes from a family where she was quick to get out of it. She graduated like valedictorian in some hick town and moved to the city. And then my father's side of the family, they're more like, they were very like WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You know, like they don't say I love you. You know, very quiet dinners, stuff like that. But my mom, like a big thing was that my mom worked for a company or for a job where she had to travel a lot out of the year, and there was really nobody to watch my older sister and I. So we got watched for weeks at a time by aunts, uncles, babysitters, grandparents. She traveled like maybe 4 to 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And there were also, though, with me, was that I was always I was a very above average kid. But there was always something like, I guess, a little off about me. Like I can remember just staying up too long, and I can remember, like being like at a friend's house and just staying, playing their video game, even while they went and did something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like just things like that. And my hand-eye coordination was always awful. Like in the first grade, they called me the magnet in baseball because I had the most first bases in the league, but I hadn't hit the ball once.
Okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, so like it like those types of things ended up, I guess, resulting in like, like school behavioral problems, things like that nature. So then we moved when I was a good kid though until like the 5th grade. That was when we moved from growing up in Pittsburgh in the city to this like hick town. And I can remember I went from like 1 week burying my parents' cigarettes to like telling the kids that were there, like, oh yeah, I drink, I smoke.
Mm-hmm.
It was very I guess I was really just trying to find a friend or whatever. But so I started having more behavioral, like anger issues at school and stuff with teachers. And throughout this whole period, my mom had been really focusing on like a psychological root issue, to find therapists and psychiatrists and things of that nature. But and then that's what ended up leading down to finding Ivyridge. And so I got in trouble and I'd been found with like drugs. My mom sent me to rehab.
Was it like I'm sorry, was it hard drugs or was it just like weed or something?
No, it was hard drugs.
Okay.
No, like it was hard drugs. Like they sent me to rehab, and that was like, granted, like something needed to be done. Sure, you know what I mean. But while at the rehab and then completing the rehab, like they had called the rehab and told my mom that they were going to like send me to this place and these people were going to come pick me up. And the people at the rehab were so against this. So they gave me
against you going to Ivyridge?
they gave me like the rundown and a heads up about everything that I would like expect at a place like that. And so
were they just vocal about like just like telling you like that's really not a good place, or did they do more than be vocal? Were they trying to actively like not like get your parents to choose somewhere else?
Yeah, they were actively trying to get my parents to choose somewhere else. And I can just remember when they came. And like they physically came at me. And I can remember being like in cuffs. And my mom hadn't even signed the paperwork yet.
Wow.
And I just knew that this place was illegitimate. Like from that moment on. It was like I said, like the rehab had given me like a rundown of like everything to expect there.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what led up to it. Is you weren't referred out of rehab, but it actually kind of the opposite. The rehab was trying to convince your parents to send you elsewhere, but because you were in rehab, that was an easier way to get you sent to Ivyridge because you were already in a rehab situation, correct? So you were transported from there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What do you remember about the transport?
It was pretty rough at first. Yeah, I mean, I remember once we left, they had it was really physically rough in the parking lot there. I just having trouble going into details.
So good. Take your time, brother. No worries.
I mean, it was traumatic. So, I mean, there are many of the things that I saw there. It wasn't even only what just happened to me, you know.
What was that last thing you said?
So many things that I saw there were traumatic, not just what happened to me.
Yeah.
You know, so many things that happened to other people. But,
were you did they fly you there? Did they drive you there?
No, they drove me from Wilkinsburg, Deer Run, to up to Ogdensburg, New York.
Okay. And were you the only person being transported? Was it just you?
It was me and the two transport guys, Mr. His name. But yeah, no, it was all right. So we left White Deer Run in Wilkinsburg, And they were nice for the rest of the way. They bought me Wendy's, whatever. And then it was a total flip around, like, when we got there. I think at first I thought it would just be like a week-long thing.
Yeah.
And I would get out. And I think I held on to that idea so tightly for a while. But, like, I always had, and it was like no matter what I could do, there was always too many rules to follow. Like I can remember being sent to worksheets more than 1 week for a trend for dropping a goddamn cup in line.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, so let me revert back to something I can't stop thinking about it real quick. Is that what I meant to go on to say and expound upon is after I what I was alluding to when I was talking about like not like the different like lapses and behavioral issues as a child. Those ended up being medical issues. I ended up having a condition called Chiari malformation type 2, which is where your brain is too large and actually starts growing down your spinal canal.
Okay.
Starts causing pressure to form in the brain, hydrocephalus, and things like that. And that's something that you're born with, and that's something that like doctors had missed until the age of 19.
After you got out of Ivyridge, I presume.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like it's just I feel like that was a huge factor in a lot of my sleep patterns and just
Probably behavior too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm not
No,
exactly describing this the best.
no, it's totally fine. You're doing great, bro. Don't worry about it. You're doing great.
Yeah, like I said, I was at Ivyridge for about a year and a half.
Okay.
I was in worksheets more than I was in my Patriot family. I think we all call ourselves worksheet warriors. And like there were groups, different times like it would change, but there were groups of people that were just always down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely one of them. I refused to follow just because out of protest.
Was it that you were actively refusing the rules, or was it that you would try sometimes, but you would still get consequence no matter how, like damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing? I'm sure there was
It's both. It's both. It started as what you say, and then it becomes if you're gonna hurt me, I'll make you hurt me, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll take the power back by saying fuck you, you can't hurt me, like type shit. And the thing is, like when I was there, worksheets was you sat on a plastic chair, 3 inches from the edge of the chair, knees together, hands on your knees, face forward, eyes forward, mouth closed, 2 hours. Was it 2 or 6 hours minimum? 3 movements or whatever, or 3 answers wrong while listening to classical books on tape. You got sent to observational placement.
Which is essentially solitary confinement, correct?
It's essentially solitary confinement, except there's a guard sitting 6 feet in front of you, and if you move, you're a threat to staff.
Did you spend a lot of time in there?
I can remember having scabs on the bottom of my chin because they make you lay with your chin up on a linoleum floor.
With your hands behind your back?
No, with your hands laid down at your side.
Okay.
Yeah, they give you for every meal a sandwich with 2 slices of cheese, fruit, and a glass of water.
What was the longest amount of time you spent in worksheets or observational placement?
think the longest I spent there, shortly after I got there, my grandfather passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
And to tell me, they pulled me out of the room, family, took me down to observation placement and closed the door before they told me. Sort of locked me in before they told me. They brought my mattress down there. I stayed there for days. Like literally didn't leave.
Like it's almost like they were trying to break you. You know what I mean?
Oh hell yeah!
It's almost like
No, that was it. They totally told you that it was to break you, to build, to remold you, rebuild you, whatever. Yeah.
like they got off on it.
Oh no, it was all right. So when I first got there, Mr. Eric, the bald one, short one, became a shift supervisor. Eric B. was just a dorm dad with George Tulip, Mr. Brad. There was a Mr. Chris who looked like a, I don't know, he looks kind of almost, it's like a little bit like him and Mr. Jason both look like fast logs, beer bellies, but Chris kind of almost looked friendly. A little teddy bear or a little like Teddy Roosevelt. But Mr. Jason, like, he just had this vibe. They were sick. And every Saturday and Sunday, especially during each other's lunches, they would come and sit in the other person's dorm room, like dorm place. And they'd look at the book to see who had two of what. And they'd wait and watch and say you had two unsatisfactory efforts. And then you talk, that's a 205 unauthorized communication. But they say, I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to give you an unsatisfactory effort of keeping your mouth shut. They give you a trend. Trend knocks you down a level, bunk leader status, which triples, like doubles or triples your points that you can get in a night, and automatic trip to worksheets, where you could just fidget 3 times and get whatever like a Cat 4 and thrown into OP, observation replacement, and lose Cat 4. You go to level 1. You know what I mean? Like you could lose, and these motherfuckers did it regularly to everybody, and they would literally, like they would comb you for a grooming effort on Sunday during each other's lunch break. And 9 times out of 10, they got people on those unauthorized communications. They'd see you staring off, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't want to give you an off task. I'll give you an unauthorized communication because you were looking at so and so."
Yeah.
And trend you and send you there, and they'd laugh while they were doing it. And that's why Mr. Eric and Mr. Eric specifically got promoted, and Tulip,
Think you,
Mr.
so you're saying that they were incentivized. You believe
Oh,
they were
hell.
incentivized. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Oh dude, no, like they were totally incentivized. They were incentivized to not take any shit. They were incentivized to go hard. They got reprimanded for not handing out enough consequences. You know what I mean? No. And there's just this hell about not being able to talk for that amount of time, and it was just, the whole thing was fucking ludicrous. These guys were never trained. They were, I know one who showed, like, some things I saw that were just ridiculously low level incompetence. Like, people who got like Mr. Randy. Mr. Randy started off as a fucking chef, became a dorm dad, became a chef, became a supervisor after he started banging Miss Lewin or whatever, with an elder female shift supervisor. Like, it was just, you know, the nurse, Mr. Ed, wasn't a nurse. He was just some Mormon from Utah.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Chad got fired and sent back to Utah for having sex with little girls. Mr. Josh got fired, sent back wherever because he was having sex with little girls. You know what I mean? Like, it was rampant. So, you know,
Stuff that you heard about on the campus, or was this stuff that you kind of witnessed happening, or was it both?
so one time, 5 kids ran away from, they're all from New York. They got away from like the tiniest bit. Every single time after that, they got, when we went back in and out of the dorms, Mr. Randy pulled each and every one of them aside, took them into the fucking pipe room to strip search each and every one of them individually, just to fucking degrade them.
Okay. That was every time you went from point A to point.
He every single time I went in and out of the dorm, that's like 9 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, however many hours he's on shift, but yeah.
Once is too much, you know?
There was this kid named, he was there just about from the start of it. Brad was in where he sheets. No, Brad, like, you could tell there was something wrong with Brad. Brad ended up eating his own feces.
In worksheets?
Brad had
Observational?
in observational placement.
Wow.
Brad had schizophrenia.
That probably made it worse.
They didn't give him medication for schizophrenia.
And what happens when you don't give schizophrenics or people with mental disabilities their medication? Usually they have a fucking, it usually comes back in like trifold, and it comes back a lot worse. You know what I mean? Yeah.
They replaced all of our coat rods with PVC piping that was halfway cut. He's a kid, not the little fucker. The kid looked about 10 years old. His older brother was also fucking hung himself in the closet and damn near died.
Was this
that was the only response. They ripped out our metal fucking coat rods and put plastic. There was no recounts and there was no nothing. There was no, you know, like, and they used that psychiatrist as a tool, as a weapon. They, you know, when I was in worksheets, I was in that psychiatrist's office every 2 weeks. And if I was still in worksheets, he changed my medication. At one point, I was on 20 milligrams of Ambien at night and 250 milligrams of Provigil for narcolepsy in the morning, while on 3,600 milligrams at the age of 14, 15 years old.
I was going to ask you about that. Were you on prescription medications, or did you have any diagnosis prior to going there? And I was going to ask if they loaded you up with medications or took you off them.
I had a diagnosis of ADD before I went there. Yeah.
Did they give you your prescriptions when you went there correctly? Or?
They would change. Like I said, they would change them dramatically just based on whether or not I was in worksheet still.
Interesting. That's messed up. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you? Go ahead.
No, it was just so affirming to get those papers back.
Your file.
Yeah, that was crazy to actually see it there in black and white. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I got out of there and I told that psychiatrist that happened. They looked at me like I was like 3-headed. They're like, no psychiatrist can do that. You know what I mean? Like,
that would never happen here in the United States.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, but I mean, there were so many people there who just, you know, I rather they said that I was not, like, you know what I mean? I was in need of some correction, not that correction, but there were people, there's so many people that did not deserve to be there. You know what I mean?
And nobody
Yeah.
deserved to be there, but do you feel like you deserved to be there? Like, did you feel like you were a bad kid, or did you feel like you kind of were just being a regular teenager?
Well, see, I had nobody watching me. I had access to a lot of money. And at one point in my schooling, I was in all advanced classes. And then they put me into school, they messed up my schedule and put me in classes with all these like the 10th and 11th grade, like repeats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and no, I quickly went off the rail. I needed to go to rehab for sure, you know. But, you know, those people, they didn't, that place was set up, you know, with a so-called independent referral service, a so-called independent bank. You know, those people used outdated psychological techniques from like the 70s, you know, and they made, you know, they suggested that the whole thing, you know, to get through discovery with who hurt you, you act out because somebody hurt you. You know, they implant this memory, this false memory. You know, where you know there's a certain path to walk down to get out of that. You know, and it's criminal. I mean, you know, they tell your parents that like it's life or death, this or that. Don't you know? They prep them. Don't believe a word they say. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember fucking bathrooms there, man. That place was built, you know, in for nuns in a college. Remember, it was never designed for 500 kids. You know what I'm saying? That place used to fucking flood the bathrooms. There were 5 toilets on each floor for the whole men's section. There was like 180, 200 guys. Like, those things used to flood like 3 inches of shit water on a regular basis. And we would be so eager to get out of what we were doing to go fucking clean it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what $3,600 a month will get you.
Yeah.
You know, and then the whole academic side of it, you know, where they falsely claimed they were an accredited high school. You know, that shit was a joke, and that shit. I mean, that robbed me. When I got out of there, I should have been like I was 16 years old, and I should have been like a senior by college by credits. I got told by a New York school that I had 0 credits. I had to go to 9th grade. I was 16, like about to turn 17 years old. It was it's horrifying as a kid, you know. It's totally, totally, it totally was part of their billing. Totally was part of their structure, and it was such. I can remember doing when they got automated classes. Dude, I don't know how many people's economics class I took. Like, dude, that was for that part. The inmates ran the prison for a while. It took them a minute to get up on that, but like the abuse that was there, I ended up, I ended, I ended up having my arm dislocated so many times that it broke while I was there.
Improper restraints from
Sure. they used to make me touch my ear behind my back, you know what I mean? And there'd be 2, 3, whatever, Mr. Burnham, one that loved to get it in. You know, there were very few that restrained themselves, like hesitated. There were a couple though, but for the most part, like I said, it was completely incentivized. You know, they hinted out consequences, consequences, consequences. And it was just such a, yeah, it was very disempowering. It was very scary for a long time. They used a lot of emotional manipulation. You know, they used to remind me that my mom paid for this shit. You know what I mean? In my face, breaking my fucking shoulder. You know, knee, a fucking 300-some pound guy down my mind with my fucking parents. You know, it's, yeah, my mom, about, God rest her soul. God bless her soul. My mother's alive. God bless her soul. Since coming to terms with this kind of stuff, you know what I mean, as being closer to me than anybody else, anybody could be, you know. But when she found out that the behavioral problems I was having were a physiological, biological problem that needed medical attention, you know, the guilt and anguish that she put on herself, you know, like, and I blame that all on them. You know, this place was backed with, you know, real money and with real people, real profits to be made, you know, real deception, you know, and they really, really tried to break the parents just as much as they did the kids. They really wanted the parents to fall in line. They really streamlined and controlled the information flow to the parents as well. You know, it's 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 horrifying what these people do. Just abandon, and I don't think I'm that special. I guarantee I would put money that, you know, 8 out of 10 kids that age with serious behavioral issues probably has something. It requires some medical diagnosis, be it psychiatric or physical or both, physiological. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, odds are there's an extreme behavior going on. You know, there is an extreme reason. And it's not it's never just that simple. It's I still wake up with nightmares. You know, I got through. I I had a rough go of it in my early 20s. I had emergency brain surgery twice. I had spinal reconstruction twice. I had a shunt put into my spine, lower back surgery, and I had 2 hip replacements in my early 20s. And my body retained so much damage from that place. And you know, but it really came out of it for a while. I was because this kind of after the class action lawsuit for the academic stuff came out, it's when my family dynamic started to change. Like for the real better, for the you know, like, holy shit, these are the things that you know, so a lot of these crap things are things that you've been friends, and they were right. And I'm very happy with that, and I got this part of it really under wraps, and I just completely ignored it for about almost 8 years, I guess. And suddenly, when was one morning, I remember I was watching like CBS this morning. I saw Paris Hilton, and I saw her talking about that. I think it's pro volcanic, but like, and that was the same. That was like as COVID was unfolding, and I got back in touch like through Facebook of people that I had never ever considered. So like I tried to completely shut that part out of my life. I lied to people. I would tell them I went to fucking board.
Yeah.
I went to military school. On your business. You know what I mean? But I go to high school. You know what I mean? But something about that just reopened like the floodgates. Something about finding out just how many other people like being like face to face with how many other people I knew and like what's happened to them as a result of this, and how they're still feeling about it. And it was all a bit too much for me. And I had to shut it out for a second again. But I've been really trying to process this a lot again, a lot more.
Yeah.
Shut the door on this.
Yeah, the only way out is through, unfortunately. We have to go through it to deal with it. Do you remember them giving you any sort of rule manual when you first got there, or going over rules?
Oh yeah, I can still picture it. Yeah, like it's like a 105 is unsatisfactory effort. Like right, it's a category. It's fine. The movement is like that thing. But the list of rules without their little subcategories, just one page and cat over like maybe 11 or 12 cat ones, and then cat two. Let's see, either 205 was either off task or unauthorized communication. I don't remember a lot of cat 2 violations. I can't remember if a trend was a cat 2 or a cat 3.
Wasn't a trend also if you got multiple in a row?
Trend was if you got 3 of the same. So trend is if you got 3 of the same rule violations in the same Sunday through Monday through Sunday period. Okay. So if you had 3 dress code violations in the same week, you got an additional trend, which I think was like a 225. Okay. So you got 2 consequences for it, and so that's 5 points for a category. Category 1, 25 points for a category 2, 50 for a category 3, 1 level for a category 4. For a category 5, it's basically like an insubordination, like just do these everything. And yeah. If you're level 6, level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, level. Yeah. 4 and 5, like they were really interchangeable for the most part. If you got if you got a cat 4, they didn't really. It's basically like run plans, complete insubordination, fighting,
Self-infliction.
Oh yeah, self-infliction.
Yeah. How long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar, and what was your first seminar, orientation or discovery?
No, discovery was definitely my first.
Okay.
Discovery was definitely my first. I got there in September. They had just come through, so it was like 2 to 2.5,
Okay.
maybe even 3, because they rolled around every 3 months.
Okay. And did you make it? How many seminars did you make it through?
I made it through, well, because of the level system, I only got through discovery. Yeah, I think you had to be an upper level to do the third, or at least the level.
I think it's level 3 for focus.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it might have been different at your program, but at our
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. So, yeah, like I mean, the files, like I said, they were so important to like understanding just exactly what happened. You know, because I was a worksheet kid. Like I was a worksheet warrior. I was in worksheets all the time. Yada yada. And suddenly, right around my like my year date, they slapped me with level 3 and gave me bunk meter and a watch.
Yeah.
And going back, it turned out that that was because my mother had been like threatening to pull me, like saying I wasn't making any progress. Yada yada. So they gave me level 3, and I can remember the day I just said fuck it with the level 3. Like they gave me some bullshit, and I just totally went off. It was a consequence I totally didn't deserve. Screw it. I sent down worksheets for 2 months of protest. And I ended up actually getting thrown out.
You ended up what?
Getting thrown out.
Of Ivyridge?
Ivyridge, yeah. So I had been there like a year, 6 months, 3 days. And there was like an incident involving a guard. And that guard ended up initially pressing charges, but not telling Ivyridge. So I can remember when the state troopers came to get me. I was 16, and it was me and my bunkmate. Because the guard was pressing charges on us, but they left us at Ivyridge for like a day before they came to pick us up and take us to jail. And I can remember Jason Finlinson coming down there to talk to us, and I had never felt more free, right? Because I knew that piece of fuck couldn't touch me. They're coming to get me tomorrow. Oh man, that was the only time I ever felt safe there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only room I ever felt safe. And you know, it turned out that the judge ended up being on mine and my bunkmate's side.
Nice.
The guard had apparently just a couple of months before that tried to sue somebody for literally tripping on their sidewalk. Like, and he was just apparently like that much of a degenerate around town that the judge didn't like him or his family. Like,
Yeah.
It was small town politics that like literally saved my ass right there. You know, and it's just like it should never be in a position. You know, pitching it, you think safe. Yeah.
So did you? How long did you end up in jail? And compared to Ivyridge, was jail easier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah. So Ivyridge. I mean, it's nice to have my bunk mate, to tell you the truth. But like, so they took us first night, whatever. We were in like, it's this old jail thing, Lawrence County. It's this old jail. It's like a fucking cold tower, like practically outside. And we were like right across from each other, though, like in individual cells. And then I remember eating pancakes like that. And we were there in that part of it for maybe 2 or 3 days. And then we went up to, I forget what you call it, the population for about 3 weeks before our case was heard.
Okay. And so you were in jail for that time?
Yeah, we were in jail for that.
Did you end up getting charged with anything?
No.
Okay, so it got thrown out, or?
It got completely dismissed, yeah.
And did you go home after that?
I did. And it was difficult. It was begrudgingly to my parent, my mother, single mom. My mom had, so when I first moved there, when I first went to Ivyridge, my mom owned 2 houses. And I got home, one house, and rented the other house out because she was that indebted.
Wow.
So we lived with my grandma. And she really, she was still like, as far as like the school, but she still thought it was the right thing. She took their side of the story. She was pissed at the judge for like, oh, to be honest with you, like in her mind, I attacked an innocent man. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that was really hard. Nobody believed. I had to be taken to the hospital from the Academy at Ivyridge for my shoulder being broken, and the X-rays done up there. I forget what it was like. Show 2 bits of bone floating in there and repeat injury of dislocation. Ivyridge took me back, and in the paperwork it says that I refused to go to physical therapy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, and when observational placement used to get full, because there were only 4 rooms or 3 rooms for observational placement, they'd start lining people up against the wall to hold a piece of paper against the wall with their nose for 2 hours straight, with the guard sitting in between each kid, like staggered. And if that paper fell, like that was an insubordination. That was you coming at staff. That's how they describe it. And they take you down and they put you in a mandatory restraint with your arm behind your shoulder and make you basically touch your ear. Like, that place, nobody restrained. The transport guy that brought me up there was a post office clerk. Half of the guys were ex-military. The other, who knows what the hell they ever did. And none of these guys were trained. None of them were psychologists or this, that's the other. Like, I remember when I was I wasn't, when I was there, and even afterwards, I was never just mad, like, oh, like, what the fuck is that? I couldn't believe the shit I saw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? like there were kids there who had bandages, you know what I mean? And they were like, this is fucking bonkers. You know, this is worse than Juvie. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then the whole threat to send you out of the country to Jamaica, tranquility day if you don't act. You know, there were motion sensors on the windows. There were motion sensors on top of the fences. We did what, the PE in the morning, PE during the day, and PE at night. You know, like, it was just, aside from that, all I did was read books. I'm grateful for that. I read a lot of philosophy books and biographies. You know, but I mean, like I said, like I had this stick on my ass from the very beginning to like literally not follow a single, because like I said, I was in handcuffed watching my mother sign the legal document. So it was like, these motherfuckers had fucked me up before it was even time or legal. I mean, yeah. I knew, you know, like I said, and I had like two and a half days of professional rehabilitation staff like telling me how fucking god awful this place is gonna be and abusive and everything. How they're untrained and this and that. Like, you know, I mean, I can remember I used to sing blue and yellow purple pills every morning in the medline. Because I literally took blue and yellow and purple pills. And plus, you know what I mean? Like the amount of drugs these people tried to prescribe over and over again. You know, it was ridiculous. And I mean, they preyed upon our parents. And at least mine. They paid on my mother's good intentions, and it's just thank you.
Yeah. So, what was the hardest part about being there for you, and how did you deal with it when you were there?
I don't know. I was terrified. Entire.
So what was that?
I said I was terrified the entire time I was there. And
So all of it?
no, no, it was emotional duress. Was with the way they pitted. It was the way they pitted me against me. It was the way they, you know, wouldn't send my letter, or the way they lied about, you know, the fact that, you know, the unsanitary conditions and this, and, you know, they told my mom I had a football injury. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it was such a pervasive, lonely feeling, and the guards, whatever you want to call them, doing that, like they would they would purposely bring that shit up. You know, they would purposely talk about you. They find out like from your dorm mom, they'd be sitting there in groups and they'd use the information that you were supposed to sit there and share against you. You know, tell you, you know, you did this or that. You know, your mom's doing this right now. Your mom told me, you know, this thing, she's nothing, this and that. And the way they really pitted you against your family, that we were liars before we got there about the abuse. That was the prep work. They told them, your kid's gonna make up everything under the sun in order to get out of being here, and they're lying just to get out of it. And
Yeah.
they'd say this. They're gonna say we beat them. They're gonna say, it's dirty here. They're just being spoiled little brats. You know what I mean? Not they're walking in 3 inches of shit water and $2 flip flops. You know what I mean? I used to walk on the radiators to stay out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was a regular basis. Like, the conditions so horrible. And like I said, we would still beg to get out of class or worse is to go do it because it was better than the hell of just sitting there. You know what I mean? Gym class was all right, and it wasn't like we were just sitting there. Like I said, like they were like you said, they were incentivized to hand out screens.
Yeah.
That's how they rose to the student. Like Mr. Dave ended up in administrative somewhere, and he started out as a staff. Like and they pitted the students against each other too. It was but the hardest part for me. The hardest part for me was how utterly effective they were at making me feel like it was my mother doing the abuse.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part.
Okay. And where are you with your parents nowadays? Have you talked to them about how this place affected you? Have they seen the program? How's your relationship with your parents nowadays?
My relationship nowadays with my parents is great. No, all my behavioral, legal issues, all of that really went away after my diagnosis and my surgeries. You know what I mean? Like, it was really rough in my teens because nobody believed me about what happened. Nobody wanted to believe me. Kinda did. Like, forgive and forget in my early 20s. And but no, see, I actually advised my mother not to watch the program.
Okay.
Because I didn't want it to traumatize her. I'm sure it's grade A, but it's not something for me to watch. I lived there, but I didn't know. She's come so far, to full 180 on believing, supporting, encouraging, understanding, being there. Like if anything, I'm angrier still with this place because the unfair guilt that she puts upon herself.
Mm-hmm.
That I truly don't think she deserves. I know there's a lot of parents out there that have to, my mom was fully taken advantage of.
Okay. So you just didn't want to add to her stress or make
I didn't want to re-traumatize her. I didn't want to make her relive it in her head. I didn't want her to have to. It wasn't. I didn't think it'd be right to make her re-expose it to it when she's fully supportive of anywhere in my process for that in any which way it goes. You know, I didn't. I felt like it would be subjecting her because she does feel sincere pain about what happened.
Okay. Okay. That's totally fine. If you could go back in a time machine and not go through Ivyridge, knowing what you know now, would you do it, and why?
You know, if I could go back in a time machine, that was just no, yeah, the whole thing was, first of all, it's a half-cocked idea. It's been disproven. All the different techniques they use, either subpar or psychologically like outdated. Is that the other? No, and even running it like adeptly, it's a doomed experiment.
Mm-hmm.
You know? These people have to, I mean, these people are going to come back into the fold of society eventually, whether it be for a year and a half or whether they're from their 13th, 19th birthday, and the psychological damage that these places, just the idea that you would tear somebody down, just the idea that, isolating children, just the idea of, literally the idea that it's okay that we monitor your phone call. Literally the idea that a place would tell parents you can't just come do a random spot check on your kid.
Yeah.
Like red flags all over the place. Yeah. And the fact is it was run with nepotism, it was run with shortcuts, it was run with bribes. It was the only reason it even could function was because it was so unregulated. I was there when they had to put in cameras. I remember the differences that changed. I remember the rooms that they left without cameras, like that steam room and like one of the observational placement rooms that they called a shoot room.
Did you ever go into the no camera observational? Were you ever in there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, that's where they went when they really wanted to just knock the shit out of it.
Yeah. I was gonna ask what happened in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
essentially what they would do probably in observational placement, correct? But more intense because there's no cameras. Am I correct in that?
Oh yeah, dude. It's. I got thrown against walls. I got actually hit. I got elbowed. I got that room was. That was when you really pissed somebody off. That was when. Yeah, that was when you really pissed somebody off.
Okay. And so you would go back in a time machine and not go through it, or you wouldn't?
I'd never go through it.
Okay. Okay. And what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away to Ivyridge?
Dude, thought about that a lot. I have. And, I can't come up with an easy solution.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, the fact of the matter is, from the time I was like, 11 on, I had no guidance. You know what I mean? And like that didn't change when I got back to my woods. Like, I guess that's what I would change. Some actual interaction.
Like maybe like role models or more people you could look up to.
No,
And
I mean like actual like parental interaction. And my mother was not involved in like my school life, my sports life, like friends, so. And well, actually, no, actually, the one thing I would go back is I'd get a diagnosis for my PRE at a much younger age.
yeah, that probably, I was going to say that probably would have at least helped a little bit if you had at least known what was going on at an earlier age.
Yeah.
So you could be more proactive, you know?
Yeah, actually, no, I should have said it because like I've thought about that too. Like the way that, you know, like I said, a psychiatric route is always taught. So that, a lot of drugs were thrown at child psychiatric patients and this, that, and the other. And yeah, and it would have really, really like, yeah, it would have really helped to have it identify the diagnosis and understand why I was able to understand the different things that I should be watching out for and avoiding. I mean, I don't know if I would have needed surgery earlier or not. It definitely would have helped to not chase like a red herring. Just psychiatric symptoms or symptoms of hydrocephalus and excess pressure. So that'd be the one thing to like.
Okay, so that in addition with having more of a family presence, like having more of a tighter knit family where your family was more involved in your life probably would have helped.
Yeah.
Okay. How did Ivyridge affect you like negatively and positively? Like were there anything positive about your experience? It's totally fine if there wasn't. I just always ask that. And how has it negatively affected you?
So I definitely read a lot. So,
Okay.
And I did the schoolwork, and I did actually get like really far in high school and learned a lot educationally there.
So you felt like the education was actually kind of decent? You felt like you were actually learning stuff there?
So I felt like I was learning stuff there, yeah, all the time.
Okay.
And prior to the computer thing, there was no way to see. Like literally, you took a test in like a room with maybe 4 people.
And were these textbook were these textbooks and then you would take the after each chapter?
Yeah, so yeah, you work at your own pace, you work on 2 classes at a time. You do like 1 or 2 chapters, do all the homework, you turn it in, go see Mr. Mike, the testing room, and you be in the testing room with you, Mr. Mike, and maybe 3 other people. There was absolutely no way to cheat that. But I did learn, and I learned a lot from my relapse bit as well. And I met a lot of really good people there, but yeah, I mean, it's I still wake up with like dreams where I'm in a school, but I'm not in a school. It may not look like Ivyridge, but it is Ivyridge,
You're trapped. You feel trapped. Like you almost feel trapped in the dream, right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm right back there, and I wake up in panics and sweats.
I feel you.
Yeah, and it's really it like, when I got out, when I got out of Ivyridge, it had been a year and a half since I had talked to a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Awkward?
Dude, I developed Bell's palsy. The whole side of my face, like, was from stress, went numb and stopped functioning. I had to wear a gauze for an eye patch for 2 weeks. It's the whole reason I started smoking weed, like, immediately again. As soon as I got out, you know, and it was, I was like dunce for like a minute. You know what I'm saying? After that, I would so nervous, I'd stumble over my words. This, that.
I still do that. I still do that. Yep.
I can still get put back in that frame of mind, and like when I do have that like little bit of terror there, yeah, my mind does go blank still.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy. I'm sorry, my dog needs to go to the bathroom. No, like that did so much damage to my psyche, to my ego, to my social skills, like to isolate me, and then to come out of that, like I said, with no credit, it totally isolated me from people my own age, and it totally invalidated all the work that I did, and it led me, you know, like if we were just looking at statistics, you know what I mean? Like, you know, basically, like, to defend myself,
Yeah.
To defend, like, because of that school, I ended up, like, statistically speaking, like, lowering my overall, like, you know, expected income. You know, like I got a GED, I went to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like those factors alone, you know what I mean, predict like a much harder life. And then to add on to it, like, you know, major recorrective spinal surgeries and health issues, and like, you know, and then I still can pull my shoulder out of place on accident.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I still have 2 bits of bone floating around in there. So it's like there are days, you know, where I'm still fucking paying for it. You know what I mean? Like I'm still there. Like they're still hurting me. It's crazy.
No, I feel that. I totally feel that. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience in the program, or anything else that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
I mean, yeah, my main thing is there's a lot of reasons as to why children act the way they do. You know, there's a lot of reasons why children do, you know, and like I said, I firmly believe that most of the people that were there probably had some form of some type of diagnosis that should have been applied that wasn't.
Yeah.
Being mismanaged, being mismedicated. Yeah, that's a real shame. That's a crying shame.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever want to do a part 2, I'm always open. I know a lot of the times when people do these interviews, stuff comes up after the interview is over. So if that happens, just take some notes and reach out and let me know, and we'll do a part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if you ever need to talk to somebody or anything, I'm always here.
Thanks.
So, yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. And if you guys have watched so far in the video, please make sure you like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell for all updates, and leave a comment down below. We'd love to meet you. Until next time, we will catch you on the next one. Peace.